And welcome to Playmakers
And welcome
with Doc
to
and
Playmakers.
TTao.
And welcome
Oh
to
my lord,
TTao.
everything's not muted. Holy cow. Here we are, having fun. We got B-Love in the house, sitting just off your view. Joining us in a minute. TTao, how are you feeling today, man?
Feeling great. This is a wonderful guest. This is someone that I've looked up to and I've seen in the community when I just first started. So this is so exciting to have him, with us today for us to sort of pick his brain. This is like, in my mind, this is one of the OGs.
Oh, no doubt. I remember I first saw B-Love on Project Mayhem in the Master Tier. I believe that was Season 3 when I was just a wee lad coming up in the game. I just remember just the strategy and the teamwork that I saw on that team. And then, of course, like Palador. I think B-Love's Twitter account has Palador's quote about B-Love being more of a concept than a person, that anybody can be B-Love, I think. Something like that. Anyway, yeah, just... and then I heard, I think he's got, like, a gold medal from X Games or something. He's like a skateboarder. I don't know. Anyway, I've always been meaning to ask him. There's like, there's a lot of questions that I'm sure folks have. Feel free to hop in the chat and let us know. But with that, let's bring in B-Love. So welcome, B-Love.
What's up? What's up?
Good to have you, my friend. So do you have a gold medal in the X Games?
Well, this was the first X Games, and they didn't have medals back then, so I have a nice semi-plastic trophy.
Oh,
but I do, yes.
You achieved some fame, and it was in skateboarding, right?
It was rollerblading.
Rollerblading, okay.
Very cool.
We competed along with skateboarders and bikers, so it was a great experience. I got to hang out with Tony Hawk, Matt Hoffman. I know you probably heard of those names, and yeah, meet them.
Man, that's cool.
Thank you.
So what were you doing? Was it speed? Was it freestyle? Like, what was the event?
There was a street course setup,
okay,
and it had handrails and quarter pipes and launch boxes. So I was a street skater, and that was my turf.
Man, that's pretty cool. So athletics have been like a part of your past from way back.
Yes. Dude, I'm so old. There was nothing else. There was no video games back then. It was before Pong.
So now you're doing this is in VR now. So how's that been? How's your VR journey been?
I love it. And before I go any further, Chaco told me to tell you guys hello.
Oh,
my teammate.
Sweet.
Always much love.
Yeah,
we're working on getting Chaco in. I really like Chocolate has helped my team and me. He's been a bit of a coach to us for a little while. He's a really nice guy.
Nice. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh yeah, just before we continue, just on the topic of Chocolate, by the way, he was actually one of the first person I ever reached out in Echo because I was like, I saw him play on a VRML match, and I was like, this dude is fast as I'm like, yo. So I hit him up. I was like, yo, you have one of the fastest regrabs I've ever seen. Can you show me a bit? And this is like month 1. He actually got on. So I hanged out with Chocolate and Sweet Tooth. He showed me some regrabs. He showed me the CS launch, which we'll actually be taking a look at today.
Okay.
And I'm still trash. He taught me well. He taught me well. Like, I understand the concept, but God, maybe it's his like godly ping with Sweet Tooth. I don't know, but I'm like, I can't, like, I know the concept of what he's doing, but I just can't pull it off. So
they do it with some pretty mediocre ping. I've been playing with them a lot here the last month or so, and they're like in their 40s and 50s, and they're still doing it. So their Kim is great.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about that because the topic actually got brought up when we were interviewing Ender and Strem about directional regrabs.
Yeah,
and Ender and Strem was talking about using both hands, which blew my mind. It blew my mind. I'm like, using 2 hands to regrab? What?
Yeah.
Blew my mind. And then I remember because Chocolate and Sweet Tooth, they were the people that was like a person on back, pivot around, swing into hand, so do like a bit of a pivot. And I was like, that's so different. I'm like, What? So, anyways, we'll be talking about all of that during some of the clips today. We have some really great clips to look at.
Awesome.
But yeah, thank you for bringing up Chocolate. He's just he's a great dude. I love the
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, I met those guys at the Napa Land, and just great kids, man. Great kids.
Cool.
So, kind of one of our standard questions, B-Love, is we always want to know how do people get into the game? So tell us your story.
I have such a great story. So, I was working at an ad agency, and they're like in the gaming space, and Microsoft, Xbox was one of their main clients, but also Oculus was. So, I'm a video editor by profession, and I got hired to do the video editing for an internal branch of the company. And they started doing streams for Facebook before it was Facebook Gaming. So we would have up and coming gamers, you know, not your top ones, not your ninjas, but the ones that are kind of coming up, like Mrs. May, if you've ever heard of her. Bring them in. They'd play a game. We'd film it on green screen, and then we would post it later on Facebook, like what they call it, kind of like Facebook Fake Live. So early on, like one of the games that we did was Echo, or Lone Echo, along with Echo Arena. So we packed our stuff up. We went into Rad. I got to meet Lemming, iShiny. I got to meet some of the devs like David, Nathan, and we just filmed for like 1 or 2 days, and we got to film a competition. And this is before the spectator view, so filming games is really tough because you don't want to just use the headset view. It's like the GoPro on the dog head, so it doesn't make for a good stream. So I came up with this concept where I would go in the game and play with them and just watch. So I would be a player just floating around watching. And that was my first experience playing. And I'd been floating around in the lobby for like 2 weeks, not realizing it was even a game to play. And I was a big basketball fan, and I just saw the correlation and started playing. But dude, you know, like being around a bunch of people playing, like you don't know you can get punched. So I'm just helping set up, running cables, and David, Rad David, is over there playing, and I go walk by him, and dude, he threw a punch and like hit me right in the chest that like cold knocked the air out of my lungs, and I was like, and he just took his headset off. Are you okay? And I was like, yes, I'm all right. And I was lying, bro. I was not okay, dude. It hit me hard, and that's something I was like,
he punched you in real life.
Yeah.
In real life, dude. Right in the chest. Hurt so bad, dude. Then I just started playing, and I was like, dude, I love this game. And I just couldn't stop.
Awesome.
That's cool. Yeah, I got a basketball background as well. I played like in high school and like a little bit in grad school. And yeah, same. Like the first time I hit someone in Stratum point guard, so like like passing is my main game and like shooting threes. So like, but the first time I hit someone like flying in, and then they just like they went into the bubble and scored. I was like, I had that exact same feeling of like throwing a real physical basketball to someone. It was the same connection. It was like I was blown away. I'll never forget that moment.
Dude, it's such a hook, man. It really is.
Yeah, I would like to say I have never heard anybody else have an intro by being punched by the devs. I mean, like that just sounds. That's like a great intro. Like, you want to learn Brawling and Echo? This is how you do it.
Yeah, dude, it hurt, bro. I'm gonna be honest. Dave is a big guy. He's like 6'4", so he knows how to throw a punch.
I'm trying to remember who was the dev that plays a lot of Beer League. I'm not sure if that was Dave or not. But we'll bring it up one of those nights. Anyways, okay. So this is great. One of the things that we want to talk about today is, you know, sort of some of your magic of Crescendo. We have a lot of questions ready for you. We'll just love to sort of pick your brain and just sort of hear about, you know, what your thought process is. I know, you know, can you tell us a bit more about playing with Crescendo? Was this a group of players that you met for a long time? Are these some of these newer players that you just met and just formed a connection with? Like, how did the team go?
Oh man, I can't remember actually how it came about. I mean, I do remember a little bit. So I was a sub, and I think Goran just came along, and this is whenever we had JD is here and Nah. and original on the team. And he goes, "You want to fill in for me?" And I was like, "Sure." So I went and filled in, and then he needed me to fill in again, and I was like, "Okay, I'll fill in." And then the next thing I knew, I was on the team, and I was like, I didn't even know I was trying out. I was just like, "Oh shit!" And essentially, like, normally I don't like to bench. I'd rather just play on a team that's not as good and still play just to get the experience. But at this point, I was like, all right, I'll bench for a while and see how it pans out. And then we weren't doing too well, and the team disbanded, and Gorn was there, and I was left, and we were just kind of sitting there looking at each other like, what are we gonna do now? And he goes, "B-Love, you can leave if you want." And I go, I'm just gonna hang out for a minute and see what happens. And that was like on a Friday. And Sunday, Gorn hits me up and it goes, "Chocolate and Sweet Tooth are on the team." And I was like, let's go! Woo! Dude, we won the lottery. I was like, let's go! I was so excited, man, just to play with those guys. And I played against them for seasons and seasons, and I've watched them do stuff on stacks that it just amazes me. And yeah. And here we go, CC this weekend.
Hey.
Yo, so excited for it. I want to mention, I hit up Chocolate when he left Anomaly. I was like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, what happened? And I was just curious, right? And he was like, "Yo, he's just busy with different stuff." And then, like, next thing I knew, I was like, "God damn it, again!" Like, this is so exciting to see you play. And watching you guys in CC is gonna be so awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. So
yeah, me too.
I've always,
who knows?
Dude, I've always wanted to play in the Challenger Cup. Like, even when I was on Project Mayhem and we were in Master, when that whole division was created, I watched that first cup and I was like, dude, I want to play in that cup. It is so amazing, and just the amount of competition and just that level of, well, I don't even know what's the word I'm looking for, but it's just the level of competition and the challenges, and it's like playoffs, for basketball. And dude, it's taken me this long to get there.
Well, you overshot.
Well, I went high and then too low, and I'm like, where's the middle ground?
Yeah, like you couldn't play CC as Project Mayhem. You were already in. So okay, in terms of today, let's take a look. Let's transition to some clips. We'll keep talking, keep hanging out, having a good time. I want to take a look at some of the gameplay that we're seeing. One of the first things we're going to take a look at, I believe, is okay. This is clip 1, right, Doc? This is like the number 1 clip. Okay. This is actually, as we were talking about Chocolate and Sweet Tooth. I don't want to make this show about Chocolate and Sweet Tooth. It's definitely about you, Velo.
It's gonna be about them guys anyway.
Yeah, but there's like a few things they do, on the stream that just like what, what?
I know.
So the first thing we're going to look at is actually a very interesting play, and Sir Dimwee actually called this out. I was like, someone needs to clip that. Well, Sir Dimwee, this is us clipping it for you.
And yeah, big shout out to Spike 4887 for the Prime. Thank you for the Prime.
Yeah.
We're gonna be running on VRML casted channel footage today for B-Lev segment. In the community segment, we'll have the replay files, but for this section, we're gonna actually have the video from VRML. So this is Kangarillas against Crescendo. You can see round 2 down there. It was a Crescendo won round 1 and are already up 2-0 Kangos on the Joust. Leverage and Empty coming out of the tube. Speedy V getting the disc. It looks like Chocolate and Sweet Tooth are right there, and then just jump the shark. Oh no! Choco lit rip on the shot though. But yeah, was that what you wanted to see?
That's what I want to see. So this is very specific. So we can, I think Sir Dimwee or one of the casters actually slow-mos it in a little bit. I'm not sure. But so what happened was, Chocolate, they come in as a stack, and then Chocolate like literally turns around, almost looks like he's about to like go somewhere else. And you can even like make it go slower too, right? Like,
yeah,
he looks like he's turning around, and then he just flies right at Disc Holder. So see them sort of like they pause, and you'll see Chocolate like they turn around fully, and then they just dive. And I was just curious. I saw it. I was just like, "Is that on purpose?" She just does the greatest fake out.
I know. I watched this back, and I saw him turn around, and then the next thing I know, they had the disc. And I guarantee you, it's as simple as that. Speedy's reading them, and he's trying to get them out.
Yeah.
But when Chocolate turns around to look, he's like, all right, they're not going to boost right now. And
Yeah.
that moment they got it. It's as simple as that.
So, in terms of this, the question for you is, I see you and the other player is setting up on the back line. I believe you and Goran are in the back line on this one, right? So you guys are running like a 2-2 defense, is that correct?
In that instance, yes.
Okay.
Most likely.
Most likely. Okay. I was just curious, like in terms of some of these stacks, like how do you position? Because Chocolate and Sweet Tooth are up front. What are your thoughts on defense coming out of Joust?
Well, and this is not going to be like this for every team, but when you have such an aggressive front stack, it gives you some leeway to kind of just be a little what they call passive back stack.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of sit back there and make sure that any clear that goes awry that you can grab.
Sure.
And then just wait to see if they get the disc or if there's a turnover before we come up in the front. But it's essentially just a passive back stack. And like I said, when you have a smart front stack that's as fast as these guys are, it affords you that opportunity just to kind of chill out, and let them do all the work.
For sure. In terms of like 2-2 in that passive back stack, I know it's a very common situation, and there's a lot of teams that are trying to learn it. Where would you say is a good place for you to post as a passive backstack? Is there any geos you really like or a place in the field that you like to set up?
I like to move around because if you start to go to one spot, then you become predictable, and then that gives the team the opportunity to come send somebody for you. I like to just stay mobile, and I go different places, and I don't like to go to the same spot over and over again.
So even as a passive backstack, what I'm hearing is, you're moving around, and this is something I see a lot, which is, they'll have 2-2 stack, and then the person that's deep will come in and just stun the backstack, and then the backstack is out for a bit because they're always posted on Star, they're always posted on Nest, right? So I'm hearing like that. There's that movement that's happening, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, that's such a dangerous position to be in. If you have a backstack and you go to the same spot, and then the offense is smart enough to send somebody to punch you out, it's literally just one striker and a score if they do it right. It can be really dangerous, but that's why I like to move around. And I'll go to Pac-Man sometimes. Like I haven't done it on this team yet, but I would, whenever I was playing with my son Aiden, we would just go all kinds of different places. Pac-Man, which is such a weird spot to go to, right? You would think like, what are you doing over here? But it gives you a vantage point of pretty much the whole arena. So yeah,
very
stay
cool.
mobile. That's my advice.
Stay mobile. Absolutely. That's not something that's very common, and I think that's something that people need to do more, because I see people get stunned on the backstack all the time. So that's really good to hear from you. We're gonna take a look at clip number 2 actually, and this one is where you do a reset into a setting up for offense, and Doc will cast and we'll talk about that. And the main question, and I'll have some questions after we watch it actually. So.
All right. So.
Right. Yeah, it should be number 2.
I got it. I think I got it queued up here.
Yeah.
All right, so same round 2. Kango's up a bit now, up by 3, 12-9, and 3 minutes and 20 seconds left. And let's roll it. So Choco Lit doing a little bit of juking, delivers it to the right side, picked up by B-Love, slap back, now in the hands of Choco. Back to Goran. Goran hanging out, waiting, baiting, Empty and Speedy V waiting, holding. Now they push forward, and a beautiful pass in. Oh my goodness. Nice little back and forth game in the bubble.
Yeah. So the main question here is, how, you see that very intentional reset, and then I see that you're moving around to low right side of the field, right? So the question I have mainly for you is, what are your thoughts after the reset?
Well, the further out the reset, the further out you want your passes to be from the center of the arena. I can't like talk about how important resetting is in the game in general. And the consensus is you want to spread the defense, so giving you more opportunities as you get closer to the goal, punching out people, and just reducing the defensive numbers. But one of the also a very important aspect of it is developing a rhythm. And my teammates have always heard me talk about getting in a rhythm. Now, this is a basketball thing, and I'm a huge fan of Phil Jackson, and he's genius in the sense that he will slow games down and make his offense run against the defense 5v5 over and over and over again throughout the course of the game. Because essentially, when you get to the playoffs and things start to get really close and it's tie game and there's only a minute left, you're going to have to do a reset and you're going to have to run the offense. And the teams with the most practice have the better chance of winning. So on Project Mayhem, we used to run scrims, and I would make rules like no open threes, no open twos. If there's no goalie, pass it back out, and let's just practice on resetting and running our offense and getting in that rhythm. Because as you can see in some of these high-level games, dude, the defense is great on getting back and running a defensive bubble or whatever defense they are, and you have to know how to play against that. And like I said, the teams with the most practice have the better chance of scoring. And it's a rhythm. It's like you can be a drummer, but if you want to learn a new drum beat, you start slow and you have to build up to it. But just knowing where people are and getting used to it, and sometimes somebody will cut a different way than the other, and just learning that those little nuances builds your rhythm. But in that instance right there, I want to kind of stay out. Normally I go to the clock if we start to get closer, just because I love that position. But in that instance, Goran is so far back, he needs to have like some close opportunities there.
I love what you talk about with the rhythm and like, yeah, a drummer. I know Chaco talks about that with regrabbing a lot. Like, you don't just go and just blaze as fast as possible. You got to get in a rhythm with your regrabbing partner. Ender and Strem said a lot of the same things about like, don't just like spasmodically like regrab. Get in a rhythm with your team. I've never thought about resetting from the angle of rhythm, but yeah, like allowing everyone to touch the disc. Just getting some of that flow back and forth between everyone so that everyone knows where everyone else is, like slowing the game down a little bit. I like that too. Yeah,
there's actually two little follow-up questions I have for you. First off, you said something about spreading the defense. What do you mean by that?
Well, if I can pull a person close to me and that stack is out there, that leaves one person around the goal. And I think that's kind of what happened there, is it left that open pass. So that pass goes all the way from half court into close to the bubble. And then there's three people outside. Is that what happened there?
Yeah. There's a stack. It looks like there's one stack up front, and then there's one player that's kind of like outside of the bubble.
Covering Chaco over there.
Yeah, I think Chaco's on the left side, and the disc goes into Sweet Tooth.
Right.
And then Sweet Tooth, and then so that defender now is over there. Chaco is now completely open over here, and Sweet Tooth delivers it over, and then Chaco delivers it back to Sweet Tooth for the finish.
Yeah, basically one person has to try to cover Chaco and Sweet Tooth at the same time.
Yeah.
No.
I don't suggest that.
Yeah.
But so I appreciate that stack in the front being aggressive. I do appreciate that. King Gorillas is great, dude. We scrim them. They're fun to play, and just a great team, man.
Yeah. I one of my good friends empties on the team, and I mentioned that we're gonna.
So good.
Yeah, we got some clips of him, and by the way, that we're not gonna watch it today because that wasn't great. But like that last ding, round 3 and a win to OT, like it hurt. It hurt. Watching, I was like, that hurts so much. That ding round, I was like,
I know.
Well, that was so. Yeah. Anyways, we won't be watching that because I was just like, I'm not gonna highlight that.
Do it.
But we'll do it next time. You guys did great. It was awesome. In terms of talking about like that stack, one of the main things I actually want to highlight and I want to ask about is something called the CS Lounge, Chocolate Sweet Tooth Lounge, right? And this is actually clip number 5, I believe, Doc. It's the one where it's 1 hour and 35 minutes and 52 seconds on this one. And
It's a
different.
one,
Yes,
right?
this one.
Yeah.
It's a different one. This one right here. Yeah. So just because we're talking about Sweet Tooth and chocolate quite a bit, I would love to get your thought on this. Because you've been playing with them. Like, do you guys run this kind of neutral Joust a lot? And do they still even call it CS launch, or do they call it something different now? And we'll
Is it
watch
where they start from the locker room?
Start on the bottom of the floor, locker room, pull off on the count of 3. And I was just wondering, do you run something like that? Is would in terms of neutral Joust, what? Let's watch this clip real fast, right?
All
Just
right,
try to waste
got
the
Choco
camera.
and Sweet Tooth here. Choco waving to the camera.
Yeah.
They're going.
What
they
a
get some
nerd.
pulls going, and there they go. And they get their head launch off. Oh, and right into the goal.
Yeah. So. So, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Those are the 2 clips that I wanted to talk about chocolates and Sweet Tooth, because I was like, what?
I know, dude.
Did you? Like, how fast was that? I was just like, what? So I'm just curious, in terms of neutral Joust, at this point, is it you just sort of leave it to chocolate and Sweet Tooth, you just do neutral?
Yes.
Okay.
But I love this Joust. So I've been I run this Joust with Skyla. I ran it with Law, but during the game on defense. And it works really well because I taught them how to do a chin bounce. Do you know what a chin bounce is?
No, you got to tell us. Tell us.
So this is only on CV1. Now, if you hit your head on a piece of geo, you hear it, a sound comes, right? But you lose a little bit of speed, depending on how fast you go, you lose a percentage. But if you can, and this is only on CV1, sorry, Quests guys out there. On CV1, there's a spot on your chin that if you hit a piece of geo, it doesn't make a sound and you lose a lot less speed. So even back on Milk, I used to run chin bounces and stuff with Jiggy, and we would do that locker room Joust, and I would bounce my chin off the very middle, which is what I call the gradient, which is the very center half court. And if you hit it right at the low part, it bounces you up to right above where you just come up over the crest of the bow tie, and you can sneak up on quarterbacks that way.
Wow.
Only on CV1. Sorry, guys.
Okay. I got a few points I want to add to that because I totally slipped my mind. Dude, I'm on a team with Skylar, by the way. I totally forgot. What?
No way.
I totally forgot to mention that. It just slipped my mind, but you said Skylar. I was like, wait a second. Why is that name South Parker from it? All right. Yo, he's on my team. Right. That's fine. So I got to tell him that I'm talking with you today. So that's one. I flipped my mind.
Run that with him.
I will. And then that chin bounce, I have never heard anybody talk about that because
never.
I have talked with Rox about the geometry of headbutts, and it's not flat. It's like a unicorn, sort of.
It's weird.
It's a weird unicorn thing. But that chin bounce, never heard of it. So can you actually point us on CV1, like where in relationship to the headsets, like right there?
Yeah, right around here.
Okay, anyone who's on CV1, yo, you gotta try this. You heard it here. You gotta try this and let us know. I know a few people. So my teammate Billy actually got a new computer just to get a CV1.
Speaking of, yo, look what I just bought. This is a barely used CV1. $80.
Dude,
Look at those crispy controllers.
That sounds great. Yo, that sounds awesome. So, okay, well, 100% definitely trying this, the chin bounce. Anybody in chat, like, definitely try out the chin bounce and let us know, because I've never heard of that. Well, one, I'm on Quest, right? But
yeah, you can glide through the trenches. You can actually, like, slide through there and not lose any speed on your chin.
Wow.
And it's fun to do. You can just spend like an hour doing it.
Okay. Now I do want to say on the topic of like weird things, when I hung out with Chocolate and Sweet Tooth, they were the first people to show me the most illegal stuff in Echo. He's like, oh, this is cool. I'm like, I want to learn that. He's like, you don't want to because you'll get banned. I'm like, but why are you showing me like all these cool things? Like, he's like windmilling and he with the disc and they're going like 7 meters per second. I'm like, what?
Right.
You
Right.
faster than me. It was like, yeah, don't actually do this. I'm like, why are you
that
showing it
called
to me?
Right. I think that's the crab crawl is what they call it.
It's called the Nebula trend, I think, because of the Nebula, the team
Right.
from Chocolate and Sweet Tooth. Yeah, so I'm like, what? Like this is I'm brand new, right? So this is like 1 month in. He's like, he's like, this is how you move faster with the disc, and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. Why don't I see this more? He's like, oh, because it's illegal. I'm like, you're just teasing me at this point.
It's like teaching a young child how to curse, you know, and they go to school and they're just like F-bomb, S-bomb.
Exactly. I'm not gonna say who taught me how to strum for the first time, but it's one of those two. Okay.
Hilarious.
Alright, okay, so yo, Chocolate, welcome. What's up, homie? Yeah, we just looked at the CS launch. At some point, we got to get you on. We got to talk about all these like weird stuff, like neutral joust and stuff. So before we actually move on, B-Love, can you tell us a bit more about launching from the locker room? Like, how would someone, like, if a new team were to do it, like, what are they looking for? How would they set it up? On what count would they launch? Like how would they do it?
Good question. So I don't go first. I have to focus on one pull and then wait to the crest and then duck and pull at the same time. So like Law, Skyla, those guys all went first.
Okay.
I'm actually not able to do it if I go first. I don't know what to do. So I've tried it before and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna stay second. But I'm not sure actually. It's like somewhere between 3 and 2. I think 2.5.
Yeah. On this one, I know they do that. I think the first time Chocolate taught me, because we were like noob, was, you know, you would get one pull, get past the crest, and the second person would pull. But when you actually see Chocolate and Sweet Tooth do it, they get 2 pulls. I'm like, son of a bitch, I can't do that well. But man, you guys are so good. So we'll definitely have to talk about that more. But again, if you're person on second, and you heard it here from Vila, right? Get to the top, you duck and you pull, correct? You don't just you can't stay standing.
I mean, if you do, you just end up with your head in the roof of the catapult.
Okay.
That's how I do it anyway.
Yeah, we'll have to. Well, this is something like I definitely want to pick your brain and pick, like, we gotta like actually see someone like do this and like, because Chocolate showed me this launch like what 2020, man. People are still not doing it as much, and with this one clip of the headbutt, it's a goal at like 30 meters per second goal. Oh, that's so good. Anyways, okay.
I think it probably doesn't get used because you have to be good at it and consistent. Otherwise, it's a botched launch. So I think just the risk factor, people don't usually do it.
So yeah, before we actually move on, I'd be curious because I know there's so many weird neutral jousters. I know like TI launch. I know like I saw Gravity launch from like very similar to Chocolate and Sweet Tooth, but they actually launch on the cube on the top, so they go through tunnel 1. So like I'd be curious, you know, for these newer players, you know, like what would you say is your favorite neutral joust?
I mean, I love this one right here. This is the one that I would do.
This is your favorite. Cool. All right, everybody, you can watch that in slow mo, and then you can try to emulate it and try it. It's very interesting.
They did they counted. I had it on quarter speed there, and it looks like they got 3 pulls before the bend.
Yeah, they get a few pulls, and it's like when Chocolate and Sweet Tooth we were at a private, I was like, he's like, just do one pull. I'm like, all right, we'll try. We still mess it up. One pull.
Chocolate wants me to give a secret away.
Yeah,
in chat.
Would you be open to talking about it?
Chocolate, should I?
Or do we need to
get Sweet Tooth's permission first?
We need to get Chocolate on.
Yeah, he's a shit. So
I'll tease you guys. Tease
us.
You remember how there was a glitch that you could grab your jet and
stop.
Break.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they might have figured out a way to legit just break stop in a stack. May or may not.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Now I want to mention that since you're talking about the break thing, I was actually in the lobby with, I believe, Phenom, Rocks, and stuff in a beer league. And that night was the night they figured out, like, because someone reached behind their back for a throw and they just stopped themselves. Like, So if it becomes that, I just want to mention, I was in that lobby when they actually figured it out, and they were like, this isn't in the rules.
Yeah.
And I still don't think it's actually in the rules yet, right? Or did they patch it or no?
I think they patched it.
Yeah,
At least someone told me they did. I haven't tried it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we'll learn more from Chocolate. Oh yeah. We'll we'll have to learn more from
And
Chocolate.
not an exploit, so that's important.
Oh.
Yeah.
The way they do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, Chocolate is definitely two of the players I know that like break the game on a pretty consistent basis.
They're
So
the test market.
yeah, they're the test market. We're gonna take a look. Actually, next is since there's a few you do really well. I believe this is clip number 6. I believe so. I believe it's clip number 6, where you throw you're able to recover it on defense and you throw a clear and boost, right? And Chocolate and Sweet Tooth are able to recover it and then score. I think it is. We'll take a look at this one. My main question for you is, like, how, in your mind, how do you clear and boost well? Like, how do teams implement it? And, what are your thoughts, after you throw the clear? Like, are you going for the stack? We'll ask all those questions after the clip, actually.
All right, so looks like, again, Storm versus Crescendo. Jack G has the disc. Storm in orange, Crescendo in blue. So Jack G, it's still in 25 speed. All right, here's normal. All right, so disc gets brought over. Jack G tries the send back. Tortoise sends it over. Now the clear. Boost is happening. Now Sweet Tooth and Chocolate are there. Oh, no! Oh, my! What a grab. What a save.
Yeah, it was a fantastic save, and that's the whole sequence. Yeah, so the main thing we're looking at is, I believe B-Love is the one who's able to get it on defense and clears it with a bounce, right? My main question is, how, what are your thoughts during that? Are you just like trust and faith, like with a hope and a prayer? Like, are you calling out? Like, what does it actually look like from your?
Yeah, I usually pray before I throw it that I don't botch the clear. Dear God, let me please make this clear. Well, in that position, there's really no like straight line to the goal, because I would shoot it if I could. But the clears off the inside of the tunnel there are a way to at least get it towards kind of back towards the goal off a bounce. But just strategy wise, I personally don't like clear and boost. I like to slow the game down, run the offense, get in that rhythm. But when you have your Sweet Choco stack, if they're set up, they're gonna probably 9 times out of 10 at least get it and have a decent shot. The better teams you start to play in games, the better they are getting back on defense, and that's Atlanta's really super good about just getting back on defense, and they were able to stop that. But yeah, I mean, clear and boost is a legit strategy when you have a stack, and especially with Sweet and Choco.
So is there callouts beforehand where like stack is ready?
Definitely. They're yelling at me.
Clear
it! So, I'm holding it. I'm like, I don't know if I want to clear this disc just right now. I might want to control it first. Because like it's frustrating whenever you play defense in the bubble and you get it and you clear it right into the defense's hands.
Yeah.
It's such a buzzkill, especially if you work your ass off on defense and then you have to get it a minute. So I like to just hold it a second, and sometimes my teammates just frustrate the hell out of them, and they're just like, send it, B-Love. And I still like to kind of just like, I hate clearing it to the other team, man. It's just like, makes me so mad.
Okay, but this is really important. I think this is not stressed enough, where before you clear, the stack is calling out to clear it. So it's like there's a definite call out and you have a plan already in mind, correct? It's not just like you get the disc, you don't know what to do, and you just whip it, right?
No, I like to throw it on the outside of the tunnel. That's my plan right there. So it does bounce back towards the goal. Does that make sense?
Yes. Bounce clear rather than just trying to, like, I don't know, clear through mid or something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like really clearing mid because there's too many blocks for people to hide. Yeah. So I like to stay on the sidelines, and that's a pretty safe clear if you can get it off that wall and bounce, and then just down the sidelines.
Clear through.
If you have a perma goalie, you got to be super careful about your clears, because they they'll pick them up a lot of times. Your good goalies will grab them, and that's frustrating too when it goes all the way back down and they have it and they have control of it.
Man, credit to Atlanta Storm though, like they are not in regrabbing position when Chocolate
Not
and
at all.
start getting together. They got a bit of work to do to get together, and they recover very quickly.
Yeah.
100%. We're gonna take a look at clip number 3 next, actually, and I think this might actually be the last one we look at before we go into Q&A and community. But this is a question about looking around and field awareness. This is actually, I think, I'm not sure whose POV it is. It was actually a POV. I think it was Chocolate. I'm not sure, but it was very interesting because it was they were stacking to disc, and then because it was POV on stream, right? You actually see the person's POV look around before getting disc. And this is just a highlight because the real question, because let me actually pull up who asked that question. Give me a second. Give me a question. Okay, yeah. So Spike4887, who's actually in the chat with us, asked us, he's like, how do you gain more spatial awareness? And this is sort of the question for you, B-Love. And we'll just use this clip as like a segue, because it's not a review, right? But I would just be curious, B-Love, how would you, especially as a newer player, is like, how do you work on getting more awareness? So you see it chase disc, and you see that turnaround before getting the disc. Right. And this is something that, especially at lower level, does not happen, right? Like it's, they tunnel vision. I still tunnel vision. I look at the disc because I'm worried I'm going to lose a disc, right? But I'm not going to lose it, right? But, it's like, there's like a fear of like, it'll bounce weird. It won't, but it's like a fear of it. So I'm like staring at it when I'm going to it. And I'll just be curious, what would be your advice to like Spike? Like, how do you gain more how do you gain more spatial awareness?
Well, this really just goes back to experience and playing. And some people don't play pubs because they gain bad habits, or it's not competitive enough, or there's really not a lot of teamwork. One thing you gain in pubs is this simple thing: reading the disc. And all your top great players are able to read the disc really well and at fast speeds. My teammates give me shit because I'm such a bad reader. I can't read. But
I'm also really bad at
Sweet Tooth is like one of the best readers that I've played with, and Game is great. Ryan's super, super good. All those top level guys are great readers. And being able to turn around and look to see if anybody's coming is being able to just know where the disc is going to go, so you can look away. And this is something that just comes with experience. And this is why I've always told people, don't feel bad about playing pubs if you do it the right way. That's the main thing that you're going to learn from just playing a lot of Echo Arena, is just getting better at reading the disc.
So what I'm hearing from, sorry,
go ahead.
Please go ahead.
No, go.
Okay. So if I'm hearing correctly, it's like, some people don't like playing pubs, but you're saying, play pubs with the intention of reading the disc, knowing where it's going to go. And it's like, is there something specific people should keep in mind as they play pubs?
Just play the right way. Like, find an aspect of your game that you want to work on and just work on that aspect of the game. If it's not ball hogging, you know what I mean? But the reading the disc just comes with experience, and the more you play, the better you become at it. But I've gotten actually a lot better at it playing with Sweet and Choco, because the game is so fast and it's a different level at that speed. Reading at the speed that they play is different than reading at another speed. You have to be quicker and sharper. So I've gotten better just in the past month at it, just by playing with those guys.
Okay, so it's gonna be hard to tell our viewers, be like, yo, the way for you to read the disc better is to play with Chocolate and Sweet Tooth.
Hit him up. Yo, hit him up.
It's just not, it's just hard.
I mean, I think it doesn't obviously have to be Chocolate and Sweet Tooth. Anyone who is playing the game at a high, like any game, you always, like when I was playing basketball, I always say, like, play against someone better than you, and that's how you're gonna get better. Right. And so same with Echo Arena. Like, if you can play with anyone who's better than you, and like, there are a lot of players who are super happy to have people you know, that they want to teach, or that they know like aren't quite at their level. Like, I mean, big shout out to the NEPA PDR and Scouts servers. Like, they're doing a lot of great work with bringing people up. I get to play with a lot of people who are way better than me, and I've learned a lot from that. You know, beer league, you get a lot of good stuff there if you are above the age of drinking, whatever that means locally for your jurisdiction. You know, but yeah, like find some people and just ask questions and just play with them. Yeah.
So this is actually a good place for us to plug real fast. One, I forgot to plug B Love stuff. We should definitely plug B Love stuff first off. So plug B Love. Second, just on the side note, talking about playing with different people. One, VR Playmakers Discord server, we run mixed scrims with all level of players. That's very beginner friendly. Rebalances happen between rounds. It's just a very fun, casual time. Definitely recommend that. And we also do boot camps on a weekly basis. We had coaches, you know, we had Chocolate actually coached with us like way back when. It's been a minute, but Chocolate coached with us for a bit. We have a lot of other coaches that are like gold, plat, and diamond level. So I highly recommend for you to check out some of our boot camps if you're watching this. Definitely a fun place for you to come hang out. I'll coach sometimes. I'm not the best coach, but I'll coach newbies all day. I'm down for that. If you don't know how to play, come hang out in a boot camp with me. I'll teach you how to regraph for the first time. But you know, if you're any higher level than that, nah, I'm good. I don't need you to me. So yeah, we'll definitely link all that stuff. So that's one. Here in Beer League, you know, there's Tyro, which does mixed scrims like Midweek Madness. Tyro, if you're over 18, highly recommend Tyro. Love what they're doing. Again, we have NEPA, we have, you know, so playing with players that play at speed is going to improve your game. That's sort of what I'm hearing, right? Like the level of play is just different, correct?
Yes. And then just the spatial awareness is the more you play, the more you realize if you get tunnel vision, you're going to get punched a lot. And being able to look around it's just, you have to do it. It's pertinent. You have to know how to look around, and in order to do that, if you're chasing down a disc, you have to know where it's going to go.
So you know, especially as a new player, there's some things that I've been talking about with other coaches and stuff, and what I'm hearing you sort of say as well is like, when you see the disc, read where it's going to go, and then go towards it, but start looking around. Is that about right?
Yeah. See if anybody's going to come punch you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something you can practice, you know, by yourself as well. Venom's got a good shooting drill where he says just shoot with the regular disc, not your personal disc, and then wherever it rebounds, just go follow it. That helps you with reading the disc, and then also you can bring this into play, like as you're going to grab the disc. Yeah, swivel your head around, so you're practicing that skill as well.
Great advice.
Yeah, I think it's something that, you know, it's not in the tutorials, that's for sure, where it's like, when when after the disc bounces and it's floating in front of you and you're just chasing after for a few seconds, start looking around, right? Like, I just think it probably should be, but it's, in my mind, it's like shoulder checking when you're driving. It's like when you're a new driver, you don't have the mental capacity to look around and keep your eyes off the road. It's just too much, right? It's like you got to learn, this is where the brakes are, this is where the pedals are, right? But over time, it's like, now it's like, oh, before you turn, shoulder check, you're taking your eyes off the road actually for a second. But that's actually one of the best ways to check your blind spot, because your side view mirrors can't actually check that angle right there. So this is something that's, like almost like mandatory. It's like you got to shoulder check before you merge into a lane. It's like in Echo, before you chase down a disc, you should shoulder check real fast and make sure you're not getting punched before you touch a disc.
Yeah. And using your analogy, you have to look ahead of you on the road to see where the next car is before you can do that.
Totally.
100%. That, I think, actually, there is a stack defense and bubble question. Honestly, I think
this could be a good one.
Yeah, let's take a look at clip number 4 then, and then this will be the last clip we take a look at Crescendo for today. You've already given like so much really good advice. I definitely gotta talk with some CV1 players and try that chin bounce. I gotta try it. I've never heard of that. That sounds awesome. Question for you.
Just send yourself out of the catapult and just glide through the trench and
glide through the trench,
bro.
Okay, so
snowboarding.
is there any way that we could pull that off on Quest, or no, just not possible?
You've tried it, or
Oh
you know?
yeah. Oh yeah. Because the chin bounce is like such a part of my game, because whenever I use a defense for a pull or a boost, I don't like to pull straight through them because they grab you. So I'll pull to the side, and if I find something to bounce off of with my chin, I'll just bounce it. Or if I'm along the wall and I need to get to goal, I'll just chin glide the wall all the way over to the goal.
No way.
Okay.
I use it so much, and whenever I switched to Quest, I was like, "This is bull." Where's David's email, man? Let me get this back. It is such a huge part of my game, and I missed it when I went to Quest.
Okay, so walk us. Okay, there's a lot to unpack right there, actually. So, one is I'm hearing like directional changes with a headbutt chin bounce, right? Like almost like using using the hitbox to change directions, right?
Yeah.
Again, it sounds like without CV1. So this is all for the CV1 players out there, right? This. Can you tell us a bit more like how you think about it? Is it just like how do you use the chin bounce to reposition yourself? Like, is it?
Well, it's just like a head bounce. You know, a lot of people use head bounces to change directions. To psych out, like if you're on a defensive rollout, they'll hit the station, and then you all of a sudden the head bounce to the other side of the arena. It's just like that. But when you, like I said, when you use your chin and you hit it the right way, you lose less speed. So you just stay faster. And using that example of how sometimes I'll be over on the left side and I need to get to goal pretty quick, and how I glide through the wall. If you try your head, it'll just scrape and you'll stop. But if you use your chin, you just keep going, dude.
Okay. Okay, we got to try this out. This is so cool. Defense setting up, get you in position faster. Chin glide across the wall, get back to net. That is like Doc likes to say 5 head. That's like 5 head stuff. I've never heard anybody talk about this. This is, and you're losing less speed because I know when you reposition. So the most common reposition I see is, they grab and they slap, which you go back to 5 meters, like 4 or 5 meters per second at max, right?
Yeah.
But with chin bounce, what would you say your speed is, give or take?
I wish I knew the percentage, but let's say like a head bounce, you'll lose like 35-40% of your speed.
Yeah.
With a chin bounce, you're probably losing 15 to 20%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like half. Okay.
Yeah, third.
Okay.
Half or a
Dude, if you're gliding through like the trench, you don't lose any speed at all, dude. Like maybe 0.1 or 0.2 or 0.3 meters a second. Like
Okay,
if you go into it with 10 meters a second, you're going to come out with like 9.5.
Okay. Do you think it's the headset, or do you think it's the PC VR versus Oculus VR, like the game?
Great question.
Because I would be surprised if the hitbox is different. So here's the question: if you plug a Quest 2 into PC and play it like a Rift, can you chin bounce? Someone's got to try. Someone's got to try it, because you can do it with virtual desktop if your Wi-Fi is fast enough. Can Quest 2 chin bounce with using Rift, like using Oculus Rift Airlink or something like that?
Yeah.
That's the question, right? Is it inherent to the headset, or is it the program? And if it's the program, that must tell me it's probably a texture thing, where the texture on Quest is probably simplified versus on Rift. They probably have more textures, and there's probably like a weird hitbox somewhere on the chin. Okay,
dude,
well, I gotta try it.
Curious to know this.
Yeah.
Someone please find out and then email me.
Can Quest 2 chin bounce glide from the side all the way to net with losing minimal speed, which is physically impossible otherwise?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, this is.
And hit up B-Love on Twitter.
Yeah.
Make a video, put it on YouTube. It's gonna go viral.
Yeah, no, we got to do this. We got to try this. We got to try this, because if this is like some next level meta that no one because you're losing less speed, right? You're physically going faster than what was otherwise possible. Yeah. So it's like, is this a thing? And if it is, no one's done it. Like no one's done it on Quest yet. So okay, all right, we got to talk about this. All right, we'll talk about this later. This is This is on my to-do list, 100%. All right, so let's take a look at clip 4 before we do anything else. This is just a question on stack defense. So we have you guys setting up. I believe it's a turnover. You guys set up on defense, and we see that Chocolate and Sweet Tooth are going as a stack defense, right? And yeah, let's take a look at the clip, and then we'll
All right,
go from there.
so looks like Kaznaz with the disc, Kengo's in blue, Crescendo in orange, Sweet Tooth and Chocolate waiting, baiting, holding. Kaznaz almost gets stunned out. They do finally get the pass off, down to Love Ridge, over to the right side. It's going to be empty. Choco and Sweet Tooth adding pressure, waiting, not going directly at it, waiting, holding. Now they're going to go. Love Ridge with the disc, waiting. Oh, Choco and Sweet Tooth miss. Beautiful passing in, but what a save from Goran. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so first off, is that I don't think that's at normal speed, by the way. That
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
seem
like
right.
half speed.
Yeah, okay. But the play is perfect, right? It's great to watch this. The question for B Love is, like, how do you guys set up for defense? Like, it's especially because one of the most common defenses, especially at lower tiers, is like man defense, right? You stick on your person and you just never leave.
Right. Until you get punched.
Until you get punch and beat. And if someone drives it into bubble, you don't give a fork because you're on your man and it's the goalie's problem. So the
Who was
question,
that? Was that Love Ridge that dodged that? Because they almost had it right there.
they almost had
It was
yeah.
Love Ridge.
So I could go into super detail about just like the concept of a stack bubble defense. I love it. I personally love it. On Project Mayhem, we had Law and Palace, and they were super fast too. When teams start resetting and they make perfect passes, it is so hard to stop an offense that is really good. So I remember just coming up with a concept where I told Palace and Law, stack up on bubble, like at the shield. I'll pressure a pass and you guys just chase the pass. And this was before you were seeing people run stacks and defense in the half court set. And we were successful. And at first they were like, that's not going to work. And then it worked a lot. And they were like, okay, this is something, you're onto something here. This concept is, there's kind of two concepts. A lot of teams are getting really good at just crowding the goal and let the passing come in, and they just run amazing goal defense. All four people just like around the goal, on the backboard, on the blocks. This one is different. This concept is trying to force turnovers, but then be in a position to go claim the free disc or the disc that's free, And if you have a stack, you can do that. And you want to just try to create turnovers outside the bubble and then be in a position to go get them. It makes it harder than just letting them drive into the bubble. So that's just that concept, and that's the basis for that. And I actually like that more than crowding the goal. But the more I watch some of these teams with that goal defense, it's so tempting to run and try to practice and perfect.
So we actually had an interview with Alduin on when he was on Team Triangle, talking about a rotating goalie defense where the goalie would dive and someone else would fill, right? And that's sort of like very similar to sort of what you're talking about, like right, because they're all right in that bubble, right?
Yes.
And I'm hearing right now we're talking about that stack defense, and I heard you say so you would have one person push and have the stack push the second pass,
First pass, wherever it goes.
Wherever it goes, right? So you have one person push forward, pressure disc holder, stack will then push that first pass, right? And especially because they're receiving the pass, they're probably not ready on offense for a stack to hit them so fast.
No. And ideally, if I can force it to one side of the arena or the other, that the stack knows it's going to go, I can I can cut off one pass.
Okay.
And force it. They have a better opportunity to go get it.
Okay.
It's not many people run that, but that's the one thing that I taught my team in Project Mayhem to do, and it's surprisingly successful, man. If with a fast stack.
Okay. Now this is really interesting because Ender and Strem talks about doing a stack defense. Rox Titan talks about a stack defense. I've talked with Game as well, and they run a stack defense. And it's like they're these high level teams, right? These are people who know what they're talking about, and you know what you're talking about. It's like it's not just like a static perma goalie, and then you have it's like there's something there that I don't think is fully developed in the meta right now of like stack defense. So can you walk us through a new team that wants to learn stack defense? Like how would they set it up? And one thing I want to focus on actually is you talk about forcing them to throw to one side. Can you talk a bit more of like how does a new team initiate a stack defense?
Well, the most important thing is like obviously have a good stack, but the second important thing is staying out of combat. So you want to rush a passer if you're stacking after the passer or the receiver. Ideally, you want to catch the receiver at the disc, but if they get it and they can control it, you got to stay out of combat. You can't get punched because then that's your man down and they just start taking numbers away. So you have to be smart about forcing passes and staying out of punch, staying out of combat. And it takes a lot of practice, and that also entails like creating a driver on your stack. Once you practice stacking with a person for a lot, you start to develop a chemistry, and essentially like how Aiden and I do it is I end up being the driver. So I'm the one navigating, I'm the one who's slapping off blocks, and then Aiden is the second pull, and then once we get speed, then he'll just start riding me, and then I'm driving the stack. So you have to develop a driver, I think, until you get really, really good at switching back and forth. What else? That's it.
Okay, so and then Chocolate in chat is also talking about lane defense, right? Like they're playing like stack goal is to play lane defense, kinda is what he wrote. So if I understand this correctly, because this is sort of like a newish concept, like I've seen it implemented, but I've never had someone break it down and be like, okay, this is how you actually do it, right? What I'm hearing mainly is the stack, one person is most likely going to be the driver, and one person is going to be like someone says Uber, right? So you have a driver, and you have someone just Uber, or like
the driver is probably the Uber,
right? You have a Uber stack going on. So you have one person that's driving and initiating all that. I'm hearing that if they have control, right? Like if they don't have it and it's just a pass, you might be able to hit them. But if they have control, you're trying to stay out of combat as much as possible. One thing I've learned talking with Venom was sort of like the concept of a bouncing stack, where like you would try to you almost like try to fake them out and stop on the geo before or something like that. You're trying to you look. Actually, no. Chocolate was the person who taught me this a while back. He talks about like a striking stack versus almost like a bouncing stack, where like you're going at the person with the disc with the intent to strike them, stun them out, steal disc, right? Versus bouncing stack is you're stopping before them, maybe out of arm's reach, in the attempt of trying to force that quick pass or that turnover, right?
Yeah. Well, the more passes the offense have to make, the higher chances they're going to turn it over and make a bad pass, or it's going to bounce weird or something like that. So, it's tough against good teams that pass almost perfectly, and but when you do that bounce, you are staying stacked, and you're upping your chances for a turnover, but then you're also in a position to go get that turnover, as opposed to it just floating right back into the offense's hands.
Right before we get, I want to mention Agent Victoria. I see you. You're the person that said Uber. I appreciate you. Thank you for saying that. I'm just saying that in the flow of the conversation. Shout out to Agent Victoria. I know you're in there. Don't get angry at me. All right. So
what's up?
Okay. Again, more turnovers, like more passes, higher percentage of turnovers. One other piece that you had the stack that with the person driving and trying to bounce around and sort of like stay out of combat. What I'm also hearing is on defense, the other player as well, is you're trying to zone them out, especially if you're the person that's going forward to pressure the disc holder. You're trying to zone them so that the stack has a much easier time reading where the disc is going to go and most likely go for them. Is that correct?
Yeah. If you go that way, I mean, there's two different ways to do it. You can send one person to force a pass and let the stack chase it, or you can just let the stack chase the disc around and then just stay in bubble.
Yeah. It's almost like a Joust. It's like a 1-2-1 versus like a 2-2, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
we did on Project Mayhem quite a bit. Just ran a 1-2-1 half court defense.
Yeah, 1-2-1
If
bubble
that-
defense.
yeah,
Yeah, makes sense. And in terms of anyone who doesn't know what 1-2-1 means, that means you have 4 players, you're sending one out, 2 people are staying stacked, and you have one back line, right? So it's 1-2-1. In case someone just doesn't know the terminology. Okay, this is actually really cool. This is a lot of things to think about, especially, oh man, that question bounce thing. I gotta try that now, man. I'm doing that right after we get off, actually. That's what I'm doing.
We did have one question from YG3 in the chat. How do you get around the arena fast without regrabbing? And how can you control it? So
You
ways
can't.
that I know to
That's
get
the
around the
simple
arena
question.
without technically regrabbing, that to get above 5 meters would be obviously the ring or the launch. You can get up to 10 on your own, and then depending on how you look at it, leeching is not necessarily regrabbing, but yeah, you can, especially off the enemy team. Be looking to grab speed wherever you can, even if it's just to grab and then one push off and go. That's like the 2 things that come to mind for me.
Yeah.
And how do you control it? With your wrist jets, if I'm answering that right.
Yeah.
And your primary booster.
Okay. Since we're talking about chocolate and sweet tooth, talking about weird, funny stuff in Echo, I'm not sure if I even talk about this, but there is actually there is an exploit. Man, I don't even know if I want to talk about this. No, okay, I'll just talk about it, but then we'll go quick. Okay, so there's actually an exploit for you to go faster than 5 meters per second, and one of the best, what you could do is actually step on the back of your play space, start hitting the reset button to reset your view, and then go forward in your play space, and you'll actually teleport forward faster than 5 meters per second, even if you're holding the disc. But if you do that, you'll most likely get banned.
Don't do that. You didn't hear that on Playmakers.
You didn't hear that from me. But damn, it's alive. Anyways, but no, because Sweet Tooth and Chocolate just got me in the frame of mind. Like, how do you break the game? And
Right.
I wish someone showed me that. I'm just like,
I mean, I think there's a place for playing around. That's how the game moves forward, right? People play with the edges of the game, and sometimes it's considered to be too much of an exploit. But other times it's that's how regrabbing was itself was discovered, right? It wasn't actually planned in the game, as far as the lore that I've heard.
Yes. So I'm just saying, illegally use the ring, maybe get a leech. That's the way to go. Now,
no one knows. No one
knows any other method of how to go faster than 5 meters per second with the disc. Okay, so
we're not gonna talk about ways of
exactly. No, we're not gonna talk about it. All right, so.
What do you
Doc,
think, TTao? Should we bump to the community segments now?
Yeah, I'm thinking either we go to community segments or community questions. So I have a bunch of questions that I think B-Love will be great, because you're talking about so many of these things. There's some great questions for you, but we also have some community segments. What do you think, Doc? Should we do questions or looking at replays first?
I mean, I think people are vibing on the questions.
Perfect.
Yeah, if you've got a question that relates to any of the community segments, we could kind of.
We can sort of go into it. Perfect. Yeah, we can do that. So feel free to load here. I'll start asking questions.
Yeah.
Why don't you just start? Probably clip 1. What to do after a reset. So we'll just talk about that. But let's talk about. Yeah. Here, I got a few questions for you. One is from Chuckalots, and they're asking, what is your favorite shot to take in the game? Is there a and he specifically says the one that when you see it lining up, the juices get the flowing. What's your favorite shot?
I mean, it's a classic, but one of my all-time favorite players who I learned to rotate. Just his style in the game really just captured me, and I mimicked my game after him a lot. Was Zach W and the cloud shot. It's just, if I line it up, if I see it, man, I'm just like, Please don't let there be a goalie back there because I'm sending it, bro. I'm sending it. And I used to sit there and practice it over and over again. And I always tell people this. I was a better shooter like it when I was on Project Mayhem than I am now. But dude, I used to just practice that until I made like 10 in a row, and I would be like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready for it now.
All right, okay, because some people don't know what the cloud shot is. Tell us about the cloud shot.
So if you know where the clouds are, right? They're high in the arena. They're on either side. Are they offset?
No, not cloud.
They're not offset. They're linear or perpendicular.
Yeah, they're perpendicular.
There's a face on the inside of it, and if you're at the block that I call the grenade, which is the very center block, a low arena, if you're in that area, you can just send it up there, and if it hits that face right on the triangle, it's most likely going in, depending on where your position is. Now, if you're a right-handed shooter, you have a higher chance of making the left side, and if you're a left-handed shooter, you want to shoot to the right side. But you can make it on either side. It's just harder to make a right cloud shot if you're right-handed.
Just so we're clear on grenade, right? You're talking about the purple geo right in the center of the field. Is that correct? Or a different one?
So yeah, the lowest block in the middle of the arena. I call it grenade. I don't know why.
This one.
Yeah,
that's
right
grenade.
There. Okay. So if we offset,
you can see the angle right there. You can see right up through
on cloud there.
Yeah. If you hit that triangle from that position, it's going in.
Yeah, that's the cloud shot. In case someone didn't know and didn't know about the cloud shot, here's B-Love telling you his favorite shot.
So that's
definitely
the angle
it's
from
juicy, man.
From the right
it's
side,
fun.
And then if you were a left-handed shooter, being over on this side is
right
preferred.
there. Yeah,
so you get
that's the one. And I do want to mention, because I actually, so here's something funny. B-Love, I actually saw your one of the tournaments before, and when you were showing the tournament, I believe it was either Game or Kong. Game, right? And was doing the shot. He's actually down in trench, further back on trench, and I think it's the exact same angle, so a little forward from that and to the left. So if you go forward and to the left, no, other way. This way is fine. This way is fine. Right there.
Once you get in that area a little further, go a little further. Keep going. Right there. That's it.
Yeah. That's so you can actually make it from underneath trench too, but it's the exact same line, right? From grenade, right? It's the same line. But yeah, that's the and
that's it.
This is what's one of the most interesting things about some of these like crazy bounce shots, and people are like, oh man, that's just for style and flair, right? But really what's really interesting, especially at higher levels, is that when a goalie starts floating back on defense at higher levels, they'll start covering the lane to the goal. So a direct shot at goal, like from half court, for example, right? Like it's really hard to make because they're watching for it. But you can make a boop shot right from the top. And same thing for cloud shots, right? When you're low and the goalie's sort of like going back, it's really hard to try for them to cover that cloud shot if they're not already in goal because of the way it bounces, right? Like it goes, even if they're on bow tie, they might not be able to reach it because of the way of the bounce. Yeah. So
the thing that sucks about that shot is if you're in position, a goalie can be there and you won't even know it. You just have to trust. And more times than not, the goalie's going to be there, but it's blind. You don't know you don't know the goalie's position whenever you shoot it. So it's a risky one, and by far not the hardest shot in the game. There's other ones that are plenty harder that are bounce shots. But I just love it, dude. It feels good when you make it in a game, dude. It feels great.
Awesome. So this was actually another question, which was, one person was asking about like, who do you emulate? I believe it was Spike. It was like, who do you emulate? Oh no, it's Chuckles again. Who's like, who are the players you look up to and emulate? And I'm hearing Zach W was one of the persons you really emulated, right? Like
early on, yes. Like it's musicians that are great musicians had somebody that they styled their music after, and then kind of found their own way. And Zach is definitely mine for that.
For sure. And man, there's so much. Man, we got to make sure we're on time. But can you just tell us, one or two things that when you first started and you were watching Zach and emulating, what are one or two things that you were like, okay, this is what I got to keep in mind? Like when you were talking about playing pup to work an area of the game, right? was there anything when you started that really helped and you were like, okay, this thing?
Regarding Zach?
Or just in general when you were starting, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I just the rotation. Whenever he can, watching him play, I was convinced that it was time to open up my rotations and start using them effectively. Around the goal, getting around. One of the things I learned that I kind of figured out on my own, and I didn't see anybody do it, was just basically if you're going up to say ceiling, and you're going to grab the disc, just do a rotation, and then you're upside down with the disc, looking back.
Yeah. Okay. So when you say rotations, can you tell us more? You mean like, in my mind, it's like the pitch and roll in the game. Is that what you're talking about?
Pitch roll, yeah.
Pitch roll. Okay. The rotations. Okay. So tell us a bit more about rotations and how you think about rotations.
Well, because you're in zero gravity, early on there were players like Lemming who just played upside down, and there was an advantage to that. So what Zach did really well is he was able to do both. And then he was just so good about rotating and scoring around the goal, which makes it harder to predict shots. He was really good at that. So whenever you learn how to rotate and throw the disc at the same time, but then rotate, get the disc, and I think the toughest part is like figuring out where you are orientation wise and not getting lost and learning that and then just using it as a part of your game. I think you get a lot better. Your game steps up a level.
So, okay, this is just like a follow-up from me, which is, how would someone go about learning rotations? How would you sort of, get somebody's feet wet with rotations? Or,
yeah.
or throw them at deep end?
This is one thing I saw Zach do, is just in between rounds, while you're in the lobby, just open up those rotations and then just use them to death. Just bounce off Geo, spin, go upside down, and it's what you're doing when you're not actually playing the game. Allows you to get used to it. So then when you get into the game, it's more second nature. That's my advice.
One drill that I work on a lot. I forget who taught it to me, but is like whatever surface that you're moving around, whether it's in the lobby or the game or whatever. When B-Love says like when you have that in between time, just work on landing on that surface so that it's always below you. So no matter which way the surface comes at you, you always have the surface like below you, so you can juke really easily. So you're constantly inverting. So then the ceiling becomes the floor, and the side wall becomes the floor. Everything is the floor.
Right.
Sure. On that note, when I first learned about that, I was actually watching a video from Klex, and he talks about, in my mind, I think of it as flooring, right? You're always trying to make the things the floor, which is exactly what you're talking about. Right. I'm not sure if you learned from someone else. I remember learning that from Klex on a video. We got to get Klex in here at some point. Anyways, so those are some of the major questions. We have, I believe, one more question for you. It's from Asinox, is asking, what is the best way to come back quickly from being juked in midair? For example, if you're going at them and they ducked you, like how do you recover from someone juking?
Break check, and then head turn boost towards them. Just break.
Yeah.
I'll do this all the time. I'll just go. I'll go for somebody, and I know they can duck me because I'm like, oh man, I can't really get too low. I just automatically I'll break and then turn around and then go after them.
Break check, head turn boost. Perfect. Awesome. And I think that's it in terms of the questions I want to ask right now. Let's go into community segments. So we'll talk about that for like another.
Brake check. I often like hit the brake and then my stick will just slightly move to one side or another as I'm hitting the stick, and it just like totally throws me off. Are you able to like hit the stick directly down? Is that just something that just like comes with practice?
Yeah. And just stop.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been talking to a lot of people about using boost and brake correctly. So there's actually two things. One, Doc, you got fat fingers. So you know what fat finger is, right? Which is just a term where you're like just mashing it, right? And two, actually a fix for this is to increase your dead zone settings on Quest. You can increase your dead zone so that it's less sensitive. So if you're noticing that it's just like a very slight amount that it's causing you to turn, if you increase the dead zone, it'll decrease the sensitivity and it should reduce that. So
I learned it on Playmakers.
Yeah. So that's not something a lot of people talk about. I don't think anybody else other than I think I'm one of the first people to talk about because the dead zone setting came out while I'm playing, right? So it wasn't here a year ago. But for new players, change your dead zone settings if you notice that you're fat framing the joystick.
Nice. Yo, I learned it on Playmakers. That's a slogan right there. You should make T-shirts.
100%. We'll definitely do that. We'll definitely do that. Okay. Now going into community segments. The first team we're going to take a look at, since we're talking about Tyro and how much they're doing, especially with Spike and a few people here in chat. We're going to take a look at one of the Tyro Academy teams, which is one of their I would say bronze or low silver equivalents. They're just new players that are just learning about the game and they want to come into a competitive place. And Tyro is just sort of helping them prep for leagues like VRML, but also just keeping it over 18, so there's less toxicity. So that's one of the things that they're doing. We're going to be taking a look, since you talked about one of your clips where you reset and we had offense set up. This is one of the things we're going to watch is they're resetting, but then it becomes an unsuccessful attempt at offense. So we're going to take a look at that, and we'd love to hear from you, B-Love, what you recommend for them. What are even a tip or trick or something else. It could be it could be strategy, it could be mechanical. Let us know what you think and give some advice to some of these players.
Clip 5, TTao?
I believe so. Yes, that's the first one. Yeah, that's the one. Clip 5.
Right.
TTao, is that how you say your name? TTao?
Yeah, TTao. Just call, most people. Go ahead.
For some reason, when I first read it, because Taoism is pronounced with a D, I was like, Tadao. Your name is Tadao.
Yeah. So, okay, for the Mandarin speaking audience, is actually Tao. Right? It is Taoism is TTao. And the reason I have it is because I'm not sure. I don't think we're gonna go into too much of my history. I'm not sure. I'll give a 10-second. Just an edge. Okay, so here's something funny, right? So my in-game name TTao is actually just one letter flipped from my real last name, which is Tai, T-A-I. Hopefully I don't dox myself, but it's fine. It's just one letter flipped, and the reason it's Tai, it's actually supposed to be Die. It's supposed to be D-A-I, but my father actually came to America on a boat, and he never went to school. He was illiterate, and my whole side of the family is Thai. The rest of the family is Die. So that's why it's TTao Gaming, because it's I'm honoring the fact that my dad was a dumbass.
Oh man.
So yeah, I literally have half the family has DAI as their last name, and the other half is TAI. It's because my dad just
Parents, bro.
Yeah, man. He came here in the 40s, man. He's fresh off the boat. He straight up came on a boat. But yeah, no. So most people just like to call me TT. Makes life easy. TTao.
I like Tadao.
Tadao, I'll answer too if you call it to me in game for sure. All right, let's take a look at that reset. Where that's enough about me.
All right. Here we go.
Right. So Chocolate saying they had the last name. Is it TAI or DAI? Because if they're Asian, it's probably DAI. Anyways, not important. We'll move on.
All right. Here we go. So I'll just call it orange and blue. So disc bouncing through the mid. It's going to be picked up there by Chuck Bot. Over to Corny Witch. Corny Witch delivers it down low and can't quite connect. Looks like there's going to be a bit of a scramble. And blue team gonna come out with it. Lolly be sending it back.
Yeah. So the biggest thing we're watching right now is the fact that they were able to get that disc over in Trap, I believe, and they did a reset back to they got it in Trap. There we go. Yeah, they got it in Trap, reset it back to Nest. But then, as you can see, Chuckles got it, throws the reset.
Yeah, nice reset.
Yeah,
Mark,
the reset.
Genius.
I know B-Love's loving the reset.
Yeah. Want to control the game here?
For sure. So Corny Witch is going forward. Where it seemed to have gone wrong, and we'll see in just a second, is I think it was a pass attempt maybe, but it whips off of Valley it whips right off of Valley. Yeah, and it bounces into enemy, right? So what do you think, B-Love? What are your,
Well, here he's getting pressured, so he does have to make a position, or he does have to make a decision. It doesn't look like his teammates are in a position for passing. from that angle. So he's got this guy that looks like he's covered, because he ends up going behind station, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
He goes
So
into
that pass.
trap.
Yeah. So I think he's trying to make that pass, which is a good pass, but he ends up floating away behind station. Once you reset and someone has it, the rest of the team has to put themselves in a position to get a pass. Obviously away from the enemy, but also in your wide open areas, your safest spots. And I feel like everybody, instead of moving forward into that position on the team, the other three players are like, you got this guy who's backwards behind him. He needs to go like ceiling at least. The guy behind station should keep going to wall, because that wall pass into the tunnel is going to be the safest one.
Okay, so you think
And then
Chuckles...
if he can't, I think he's trying to make that pass. I don't think it was a clear.
Yeah, I think it was a pass.
So the what fixes that is your teammate's position. You got to help out your because he's essentially the point guard at that moment. You got to help your point guard out and getting a safe pass. And also you have your back player who's on Nugget, which I call that block Shaq. I'm gonna officially change that block to Shaq. And here's why. You know who Shaquille O'Neal is?
Yeah. Of course.
He's a shot blocker in the NBA. How many times that Nugget blocked a shot?
Dude, I talk about this all the time. I call it the pesky Nugget.
Dude, I call it Shaq because it just freaking sends discs out, just like keeps blocking them. But if he stays there, that's another back pass that works. So if he's already there, he should not move forward, because he positions himself out. So at that point, there's no safe pass. So he has to just try to clear it at that point.
Yeah, the definite thing that comes to mind as well, B-Love, is if you notice at the point where Corny Witch actually makes the throw, all three of the teammates are moving. They're all in space, and so that means it's just a lot harder to hit someone in stride, and it's a lot harder when you're moving in space to change direction, right? If you're actually attached to a geo, then if the pass goes a little bit left, a little bit right, a little bit high, a little bit low, whatever it is, you can redirect from whatever thing you're attached to. But right here, because Corny Witch makes this pass a little bit behind this player here, Chuckles, if Chuckles was actually attached to the wall or close to it, they might be able to redirect and catch that pass in time. But because they're like floating here in space, they're unable to do that.
Yeah. This goes into like a philosophy of floating in space versus being on a block. And you know, the higher and the more experience you have and the better teams you play, being on a block take a lot of advantage. So I think the most important thing for the point guard to do at that point is not to free float in space with the disc. He should be moving from block to block until he has a pass, or he gets pressured and just has to clear it. So the mistake is everybody on the team here, the free floating point guard, the free floating players, the receivers, and then just not positioning themselves well.
Where would you recommend Corny Witch to go from the nest? Like, which geo should they be headed toward?
Well, judging by where all the defensive players are, I would probably float to Bowtie and then up to left cloud after that, or straight to left cloud, or ceiling if he wants to be super gamey.
Yeah,
go to the ceiling. And that inversion we were talking about.
Invert onto ceiling will probably be the best play. So what I'm hearing from you, especially when we're looking at this reset into a pass attempt that wasn't successful, I'm hearing that when you reset, it's the job of the rest of the team to get into a safe position, to get open, right? And I'm also hearing that as, you know, whether you have the disc or not, you want to move from block to block, and there's a lot of advantages to that versus just loading forward.
Refloating is dangerous. If you know how to duck really well and your duck timing is good, you're safe. Or if you're like, you know, the Oculusator is the best person that got really good at that, at just open court juking. But it's gonna take you a couple years to get as good as Oculusator, at least.
Yeah, and
For sure.
this is one thing that actually I struggled with. I still struggle with a little bit. I've gotten a lot better at, but this is one thing where Echo Arena really differs from a lot of traditional sports like basketball and soccer, because in basketball you want to find the open space, right? Especially when you have the ball, or when you're a player, like moving without the ball and finding space where there's nothing, where you can there's no one around you. That's where you want to find. So I would always be jumping into these open spaces and saying like, hey, I'm open over here, but then your teammate throws it even just a little bit behind you, like we see Corny Witch do right here. Like when they get the disc off, it's actually not that far behind the player, but then they're moving in the wrong direction and they can't turn around, and they end up missing the disc by quite a lot. So that's one thing. If you're used to more traditional sports, you may Echo Arena is just a little bit different in that, because of the movement, the 0G movement, you really want to be moving geo to geo and constantly be redirecting through that slap movement.
Yeah, and just at an advanced level for running point guard is also your speed of your pass. If your receivers are in the open court, slow down your pass a little bit, unless you're just money like me and just diamond 19.
For sure. Okay, again, if they're anchored, you can be a little faster, more aggressive with your pass. If they're free floating, slow it down a bit to make it easier for them. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
I have a really good exercise if we have time to talk about it. So Aiden and I used to run this with Franz and Duel when we were on Zenit, and it's basically a 2v2 with rules. So I wanted to just get really good practice about passing around a stack, where you can just pass. The stack chases, you dodge the stack over a geo, and you pass back, and it's just like basically pass back and forth all the way down the court, and you can only score inside the bubble. So it would force me and Aiden to just learn to get those passes and beat the stack, and we got really, really good at it. And it came to a point where I wouldn't even punch stacks even more. I would use a stack for momentum. So I would be on a block, pass it, and then you move forward when you don't have the disc. Whoever's got the disc stays on that block, waits for the receiver to get to where they're going, pass it, and then they move. And that was like the evolution of that. And I got to the point where I didn't even punch stacks anymore. I just used them as momentum to get further down the field. There you go.
Can you tell us about how would you set up the rules to start that? Would you put a timer on, or is just
just a regular game, 2v2, and I would have like an offensive and a defense. The offense can only score inside the bubble. The defense can score however they wanted to, but the defense had to stay stacked all the time. They couldn't split up. And two people, when you get good at it, two people can pass the disc down the field and avoid a stack the whole way once they get really, really good at it.
Okay. Have two people just sort of pass with each other and avoid the stack, which is, I've seen variations of this running with three people versus a stack, right? But you're talking about the 2v2. Can you tell us a bit about that evolution? You mentioned what's the difference? Because right now when I see a lot of players, if there's two people, they will pass, get stunned, and then they would lose the disc. That's pretty much how it will play out. So how
well,
do they do it?
You start learning from your mistakes, and one of the mistakes is floating with the disc in the open court, and then also as a receiver floating in the open space. You just want to stay out of open spaces. You want to stay on blocks. You want to move forward when you don't have the disc. And it works really. This is like a skill set that works really well against 2v2 when you play like a double stack offense or defense, because if you can just keep them going, and you have to go laterally, you can't go linear up and down the court. You have to keep the defensive stack going left to right constantly. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, because then they start getting momentum in one direction. You just want to keep them doing what we talked about earlier, that bounce stack, and just keep them occupied. And two people, when they get good at it, they can do it. And that would allow your other two players that are on the offense to go downfield and set up for a striking position, one person can punch the back stack, or both of them can, and then get in a striking position, ceiling or trench or boot.
Yeah. Okay, 2v2. This is really cool. We'll definitely I'll definitely run some people through this for sure. This sounds very interesting. And I would be curious because you mentioned the word evolution, right? Like, so what do the evolutions even look like?
Well, normally you want to punch that stack, right? You want to draw them and punch them. But one of the things that I learned, it's more important to not punch them if you get good enough passing back and forth, because then you don't have to worry about turning the disc over, to keep them occupied and keep them moving and use their momentum to get down the field. That was one just really interesting evolution that I found was really effective, because it allowed me to get like 10 feet further than I normally would have.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because remember, you want to advance without the disc. The person who has a disc is static. They're on a block and they're going to stay there until the stack comes for them. So then they pass, and instead of punching that stack, I used to just use them as momentum to get down the field.
So in terms of the disc holder being like on that geo, is that a rule, or is that just sort of how it developed? When you have disc.
Yeah, it's like I said, you learn from your mistakes. When you start floating and juking, and you're not putting yourself in a position to just make a pass, because you got to focus on where your guy's going, and communication is key. If I'm going to leave station and I'm going to go to star, I have to let them know where I'm going.
Okay, so with the comms as well. Okay, cool, great. Let's talk about the next community clip. Pressure a little time. Let's see which one for me stack best offense. Let's take a look at the next clip of it, which is clip 7. So this is because you talked about possession a lot today, right? Wanting to keep that possession. This is a game where there was last 30 seconds of the game and blue is in the lead and orange has disc. And so there's only a few seconds, and you actually talked about this before about play those scrims, keep the pressure up, get into the rhythm so that you can be good during these crunch moments, right? The question for you here is this: how do you keep your head cool when there's only 30 seconds left on the clock? You're once you're 2 scores down, right? You make that score, it's OT, or if you get a 3, you win, right? There's 30 seconds. How do you keep keep your head cool?
You watch a lot of Michael Jordan games and you try to develop that Kobe Bryant, and you just try to develop that sense of coolness. But it's confidence. And when you do run those drills of just resetting over and over again, and you do it over and over, you build your rhythm and you build confidence, and then you're not as frantic and you know what your teammates are going to do.
Okay. What I'm hearing a lot is practice it like when you reset, right? Get those reps in is what I'm hearing, and you develop that rhythm during your scrims, even when it's not crunch time, so that when it is crunch time, you're cool about it. Is that correct?
You're already in a rhythm. You're just going through the motions at that point. I've done this with some of my teams, and it's in the beginning it was people that really didn't understand it, but practicing it in a sense where you just do it over and over and over again, is something that professional sports have always done. And now Venom has actually started doing some of this, and it's what they call all-time offense, all-time defense. Have you guys heard of this or done it? Basically, you get your 2 teams in there, and you don't start the clock, and you let one team run their half-court offense over and over and over again for a specific amount of time. I've done this with Phenom. It's such a good exercise. I really preach this, where you just basically you run your offense over, and the defense, if they get it, they just give it back to the offense. Here, run it again, and you do it for 10 minutes. Now, the benefit of this is getting in that repetition of just doing it over and over. Now, in a 10-minute session, you'll probably do it 11 or 12, 13, 14 times. In a scrim, a lot of times you may only get 3 resets and 3 chances at that.
Yeah.
So like I said, the more you practice it, the better your rhythm is, and the more chances you have of getting those last goals at the end of rounds. Now, going a little further into that, the way NEPA is set up, because there's the points carry over and there are rounds that lead into the next one, how you close out quarters are super important. how you do Joust. In the VRML setup, it's not as important. If you lose a Joust, you just got to go out and play the game and win at the end of the game. If you have it at the end, you don't really need to hold it unless you're just like up by 5 or 6 points. In the VRML setup, if you can get 3 Jousts and you get last points of each round for 3 of the rounds, that's like at least, what is that? That's like 12 points that you're going to gain over the other team. And this is when it makes sense to finish out your quarters, being the last person to score, and then also winning those jousts. And the NEPA setup. And it takes control, and it takes that rhythm, and it takes that practice.
All right. What I'm also hearing too, I imagine, is like part of that mental game too. It's like you close out the round strong, and where that sort of comes in is teams that try to ice each other in VIML, right? It's like, oh, they're on a roll, you ice them. It's like, okay. So there's like a piece of that that's definitely not in lower tiers, like timeout as to ice their momentum. You don't see that. But
it works too sometimes.
It does.
It definitely does. All right. That. Like just sort of to summarize, making sure I got everything. There's a lot of really good stuff that I'm hearing from today. Doc, is there anything else you want to add in while I sort of collect my thoughts and sort of recap?
Well, I mean, thanks, B-Love. It's been absolutely amazing having you on. It's so obvious how much you've studied the game and how much you love the game. I mean, everything, you just jump into everything, and you've got a story, you got a joke, you got an anecdote, or like a wise tip. And so I hope folks in chat, I'm glad we got to a lot of community questions, because I think that was really good. And we'll be clipping this and putting it on YouTube. The VOD will be available immediately on Twitch. So look for that. But I really appreciate it. I learned a lot today. Thank you.
Dude, thank you guys for having me, man. Such an honor.
Great. Yeah. So I'll just recap real quick, because there's like so many really great things that you talked about today. I want to make sure I get this correctly. One of the first things that really stood out to me is chin bounce. PCVR, possibly, maybe, but it's definitely on CV1, right? As a way to keep momentum and like roller skate your way across the field.
There you go.
Hey.
Right? In terms of offense, spreading the defense, right? Like you're talking about like spreading them out, using using rotations to position yourself, like grab, like if the disc is on ceiling, rotate and grab and position yourself better, right? Yes. You also talked a lot about like in terms of reading the disc, in terms of like keeping spatial awareness, it's like play pubs with the focus on that. Like play pubs with a specific focus in mind, so you get your reps in. And today you talked a lot about getting the reps in, and sort of ties into like drills and things like all time. What was it? Would you say? All time offense, all time defense. Right? You get your reps in, because in a scrim, setting up on a reset, you might get in a round of 10 minutes. You might get 3, 4, 5 opportunities, right? If. If you're running a drill like this, right? Like you get 10, 15 attempts, and just the level of repetition, like in pro sports, in my mind too, it's like, you talked about today, like cloud shot being your favorite shots, being able to run that so you could hit 10 in a row, like diamond 10 times. It's like in any kind of sports, and I come from like an actual like sports, like physical activity background. It's like that's that muscle memory. Like, if you want to keep calm under pressure with only 30 seconds left on the clock, you got to practice practice it so that you get those reps in.
Exactly.
Those are like the biggest things. And one thing that's really interesting that we talked about today that not a lot of people talk about is a stack defense. Specifically, you talked about like a 2-2 stack defense, like a stack defense with like 2 people in bubble, but you also talked about like a 1-2-1 bubble defense where you have 1 person push. And what I'm really hearing about is like really making sure that the stack stays out of combat and making sure that they don't get stunned out. Because if you run a stack defense, especially on your half, and the stack gets stunned out, now it's like 3 or 4v2, and it's like such a bad situation, right? But as long as the stack, like the goal of the stack, and what I'm hearing this is, the more passes they make, the more opportunities for a turnover. And it's like the stack defense is really trying to force them to force a turnover rather than trying to just steal the disc. That's what I'm hearing today. Is that about right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And one of the things, I think we're good. You have a few other things, but I'm definitely gonna clip it because you said it as 7 33 today. It's like free floating is dangerous, and I was like, okay, yeah.
Unless you're Oculus hater.
Unless you're Oculus Hater and you're jukey, you're a jukey boy. Free floating is dangerous, and I think that's those are like the biggest takeaways. Like, this is such great advice that you're giving to, you know, like we see it in the Twitch chat. People are going like, this is amazing. You know, Spike is saying that. Thank you so much. I think these are amazing tips, and I think they're really going to help a lot of people.
Awesome.
Yeah. And B-Love, I'll drop the Twitter handle and the Instagram handle again. Reach
Thank
out to
you.
B-Love on those socials. Anything else you want to plug, B-Love, that you're getting up to, or that anyone that you know or love is getting up to?
Dude, come support the old man this weekend in the Challenger Cup with my team Crescendo. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Finally
100%.
made it.
Saturday and Sunday. This Saturday and Sunday, just
Sunday.
2 days away. I believe it'll be 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. On VR Master League, on venues, and I think we'll have Channel 2 rolling as well. So you might see Doc doing some cast as well. So it'll be good. We'll get the fam together. I think it's gonna be it'll be a good roll. And obviously, I mean, the two winners are gonna be season 5 finalists, and that is no small feat.
It's gonna look good on a banner.
Yeah.
100%. That's why I play VR. I'm not for the banners, baby.
For the banners, dude.
Thank you so much. This was absolutely a pleasure. Anything else, Doc?
I think that'll do it. TTao, you just posted the VR Playmakers Discord link, so join us there. Thanks everybody. Farsight, Spike, Chocolit, I know Ender popped up, Sir Trees. Agent Victoria early on, Waichi. Thanks everybody for joining and participating. Smooth Riding joining in at one point as well. Just good to be hanging out and continue the conversation. Thanks again, V-Love, and everyone out there. Have fun, get after it, get inverting, get playing around, and tune in to see Crescendo in the Challengers Cup Saturday and Sunday. Peace, everybody.
Thank you.